Conversations with authors at Book Bar FC Road. We have with us today a very interesting personality. She's an architect, an urban planner, and an author of the book 2.5 Story. Welcome, Anagha.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure to have you here. I'm just quickly going to get into the book before we come back to all the other things which you've done.
Okay.
What a book. I mean, I didn't read the whole thing, to be honest, but I started reading it and it became one of those books where you have to finish it in one go. Like, it's so emotional. And the best part about what I felt was it was so honest. It was so true. The topic and the theme which you have selected for your first book, amazing. So why don't you first talk about what made you write from your profession as being an architect?
Yes. So really speaking, this has no connection with the profession that I do.
Right.
But this is something that as women we live. And I see women around us who are living this life. And somewhere I wanted to give voice to their stories. I had a chance to work, or rather observe very closely the workings of an orphanage. So that time I started thinking that such a positive thing like, a child getting adopted is such a happy occasion for the parents who are adopting a child, the child who is getting a family, a home. But there is an inherent, or there is a backdrop of grief behind that event,
right,
which is some other mother has given up that child for adoption.
Right.
And I felt that someone needs to tell her story as well, because as a society we often feel that a mother who has left a child is not a good mother,
right,
or she has done something bad. But what has led to that choice?
Right.
What could be her story,
right,
which has led to such a big thing of she having to do, or rather give up a child for adoption? So somewhere that got me thinking that I have to write her story. But her story could not be in isolation, because it is not just about her.
Right.
It is about some other woman who is also going to adopt the same child,
right,
become a mother in a very different way. And then of course it's a story about the child herself, where the child is going to sort of balance between knowing that there are two mothers. So that's how the whole thing sort of started coming together.
I think for our online audience and for a lot of people here also, could you just quickly tell us what the book is about,
Yes.
the topic, and then we'll get into the nuances of it.
Yes. So basically the book starts with the story of a young girl. This girl is staying in a slum in any city of India. We can see those slums around us all the time. And she is sort of navigating life in a very strict Muslim household, which doesn't allow anything to a girl child. She's barely making herself an educated woman.
Right.
And in the midst of all this, trying to escape the poverty, trying to escape the the strict rules that are being imposed on her, she falls in love. And
Right.
this is a very, a very childish love. It's a 15-year-old who is attracted to somebody, and where she feels that it will move her out of the, mess of a family that she has. With that, you have the passions that come in. You have a child, which is, she becomes pregnant, and
Right.
then there is a child. And then the child has to be given up, because in society we do not accept unwed mothers, birthing a child.
Right.
So all this scenario develops. On the other side, we have the other aspect of our society, where an educated woman who is gotten a middle class, not very rich or anything, but still she's gotten a regular schooling, she has managed to do her studies, she has a proper job. Even in such a case, the way our middle class households function, she becomes attracted and has to abort a child. Once again, a position she's put into because society does not accept unwed mothers. And then the third character, which is just half a character, and that's why the 2 stories and then a half a story, is of that child who is relinquished by one mother, biological mother, and who is adopted by the adoptive mother.
Right.
And how she navigates with this knowledge of being adopted and what is her voice.
Right.
So that's how the 3 characters are placed, and they are interwoven with stories together.
Right. And so 2.5 story. Why the half? I'm sure that people have to read the book to understand what the half is, but it's a very intriguing title. What made you come up with this title technically?
So the first 2 characters are at the end of their lives.
Right.
I mean, I would not say end of their lives, but most of their life is already lived. And hence they form the 2 stories. And the third, who is a child, is just halfway into her life and still has half of her life left based on the choices that she makes.
Right.
And hence it is that half that I have added.
Oh, lovely. So did this... are these 3 characters, have you seen these 3 characters personally? How did you come about writing about something like this? I mean, you could have chosen so many other topics. Is this something personal? Is it something which was brewing before you started writing? How did this come about?
Yes. The characters were brewing. Like I said, the orphanage experience made me think of this mother who is relinquished a child. And I wanted to get voice to that character. The remaining 2 are around us, so I have drawn from a variety of people. It's not one person, but the 3 characters are what we see around us all the time. Talking about personal experiences, I feel I have a daughter, so the mother-daughter relationship is very, very unique. It is, sort of in that love-hate relationship that mother and daughters are always navigating their own ways how they express to each other, and I felt I could try and get the story of how this mother-daughter relationship affects the choices of women in their adulthood.
Right.
So I have taken 2-3 different mother-daughter relationships to show how this pans out, and you see them all around us.
Right. So now we'll go back a little in time to understand firstly what you did as your education, how you went into architecture, and we'll come to this point where you pivoted to okay, I want to really write this story, and I'm sure you must have written a lot of drafts and the whole creative process behind it. Yes. So a little bit of that side.
So yes, architecture was something that, as a young, 18, 19-year-old, that was something that I wanted to get into, and that excited me at that point in time, of course, that, designing a building and seeing it actually come about, and, the kind of interiors that we are also sitting in, it makes it very exciting. How do you live in that space? So all that excited me when I actually planned to do architecture. Further, I moved to planning because buildings are not in isolation. We are in part of cities, and that's where the urban planning sort of aspect came in. And writing was, it began with technical writing. So I did a lot of articles on urban, how cities, our cities are in a mess, as you all know and would agree.
Of course.
So what are we doing, what we need to do. So all those technical writing really began, and that's where I felt I found that I'm able to bring into words what I want to say. And that's where the idea of writing even fiction started coming up.
Right. So it was more of an expression parallel to your drawings and all the other things which happen in architecture.
Yeah, because otherwise architects are extremely visual people. They hate words.
Very interesting to have, for someone who is so visually creative, and your storytelling comes with visuals, and eventually the manifestation into interiors or building facades or whatever, right?
Right.
To use words to also tell your story and something which resonates very deeply within you. I think that's a very interesting aspect. So you continued architecture, you continued planning, you continued writing for a certain period?
Yeah, I'm still very much into profession. I have my own office at Senapati Bapat Road in Pune. And I have a full-fledged, I shouldn't say business, but a professional setup where we do design of buildings and planning as well. But this is something, like I said, I wanted to verbalize some of the voices which were perhaps talking in my head, and that's where the book came from.
Did you travel a lot in your profession?
Yes,
because I'm sure
cities.
that someone who is exposed to different settings in India, for example, or wherever, you start taking in the stories, the observations. So, for example, when you've spoken about a daughter in a very strict religious Muslim family, then you've spoken about someone who is culturally, a very savvy modern setting, right? Is there a point where you were like, okay, I think I saw something, it inspired me, and let me just sit with it, let that thought marinate, and let me start penning what I'm feeling intuitively? Did anything of that happen, or were you like, okay, you know what, now I think I want to write something completely different, get into fiction? I'm trying to find that sweet spot in terms of your pivot, so to speak, as a writer. How did you start? And then eventually you decided to go to a publishing house, and you decided to, have this out. I think that's a very interesting process in itself.
So I feel as a planner, I was exposed to the different, different strata of the society. So, I could visit slums. We were looking at slum rehabilitation and housing for them as a planner and an architect. So I got a chance to see actually how people live, and all those experiences which I've tried to portray, and most people who are reading the book are also giving me that feedback that the visualization of a slum has been done very nicely. That typical Indian slum, all the characters that we see there, the different physical elements that we see there, how people stay in very, very small spaces inside a typical Indian city slum. So all those I think I got through these observations. I wouldn't say that it was sort of a turning point. All of this is at the back of the mind when you start developing a character, and then you realize, okay, the character is coming to life, and I had to restrict myself at some points to let the story move, because I got so involved in the character that I couldn't stop writing about them. And sometimes the book went into a mode where I was just developing a character, not realizing that my story is actually falling behind. So I had to do that balancing act quite a bit. When it came to the daughter story, again the middle class house stories perhaps was the most easiest of all, because we all live that and we see it immediately around us. The daughter was the difficult part, because now she is a teenager and I had to think from the angle of a teenager, a 19 or a 20-year-old, how will she react to these surprises that the life is throwing at her. And somehow it was drawn from, because I've shown her to be a student of architecture. So,
it's a little personal as well.
Yes. So I have drawn from what I've underwent, what my mother must have underwent with the all architectural mess that I used to create in the house. So all that has come in, but I've tried to place it in a little modern context.
Understood. I think one thing which stands out, and I was telling you earlier, is the way you've written about the characters and about the setting. And now I know why is it so authentic, because actually you being an architect, you understand nuance, space, energy, smaller details, and that's translated very beautifully in words. So one of the things which I really found very intriguing was the authenticity. I can visualize the body language of the people.
That's good to know.
It's very difficult for someone to write about a character being so nuanced. The smallest detail makes the reader visualize and transforms that reader in that setting. So I think your book beautifully defines that. Especially the first character, Noor. and the entire setting of Noor's upbringing, the conflict between the parents, the conversation, the silent battles, I think very, very interesting. So when you, did Noor become the first character and then everything else developed?
Yes.
So she was the focal point.
And she is my most favorite.
Have you met Noor actually?
No, I have imagined her as that woman who has had to give up a child, and somehow that became my point of, my emotion actually. That who is this woman who has had to do this, such a, something that society looks down upon. That, mother, as soon as you become a mother, you have to have love for the child. Everything else fades into the background, the child becomes the center. So in such a situation, why is she relinquishing a child? So I think Noor was that first voice which I wanted to say, and then the other two characters emerged.
They followed.
Yes.
So you wrote about Noor first.
Yes.
And so when your voice internally was screaming, okay, let's bring this character alive, how much time did it take for you to actually draft the whole thing? The challenges you faced.
Yes.
You've spoken about one challenge, which is that you got lost in the character and the story never moved forward.
Yeah.
But as an author, how did you mitigate those challenges? And then how did you come across this publishing house and you decided, okay, fine, let me go out and just do this?
That was a very, very difficult part. To put something that you have created out for public scrutiny was something, and I think that is where I have to give credit to my husband here, because I sat on that manuscript for so long. I was like, I have this, but I do not have the courage to put it out, because somebody will say this is very badly done, and I do not want my characters to be judged.
Right.
I just want them for myself, because I have written them for myself. It is my expression, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't turn into a book.
Right.
So that was the point where my husband Sachin pulled me out of it and said, no, whatever you have written, you have to put it out for scrutiny and get it published.
Right.
We can just circulate it amongst 100 of our friends, but you can get it published. So, that was that point where I had to let go of whatever was written and be open to now whatever comes.
Right. So then you approached and you was like, okay, fine.
Yes. So then I started sending the manuscripts to various publishing houses. I personally didn't want to do a full self-publishing mode, because it's like, then whatever you have written is getting published and there is no third-party scrutiny happening on what you have written. So we did, with White Falcon Publishing, we did like a hybrid mode where they also scrutinized the manuscript in terms of its value.
Right.
They gave me a feedback whether it is doable or not, because otherwise, if I want to publish today, I can publish. I can spend money and just get something published. But really, I needed that feedback a little bit to understand whether this will really work, whether there is some market for such kind of work, and whether the story will be appreciated by people. It can be critiqued, but whether it will be liked or rather it can be accepted by people.
Right.
So I got that good feedback from White Falcon Publishing, and that's how the journey started.
I think, very interesting, because this is fiction, but it doesn't feel like fiction.
Okay.
It feels like reality.
Yeah.
And, the topic of women today in this ecosystem as an individual, the relationship between mother and daughter, a daughter as an individual. I think all these three very important aspects of today's society has been, it's like a slap on the face and also a nice hug. Right? It has a very duality kind of a thing, because you've heard about these things, but when it comes into a storytelling format, you're like, okay, this is reality as well. And the emotion which a woman today has to go through across different stages, right? I think you had mentioned that, would people receive a topic like this? I think, I'm sure you must have gotten great feedback around this, right?
Yes.
To
Now
be able to...
multiple copies are sold, I think I'm getting good feedback from social media as well and personal connects as well, that it is extremely an emotional book. It's making people cry. That was not my intention, but that's happening, which is in a way good, because that means that I'm able to translate what Noor was feeling, what Megha was feeling, or what Nisha is feeling to the readers, and that's what is making them emotional. There is a little bit of trauma there as well. So, but how that trauma is overcome by these women is also there. So there is a certain amount of trauma and hope that go together. And I think, the point was, like I mentioned to you, that it began with Noor. And it began really with first just giving voice. So it began with articles. And then I found that I cannot restrict myself to say 1,000 words, 800 words into an article, because there are so many layers, behind this woman. And then I felt that if I try to explore it too long, and it will become very preachy.
Right.
That I'm just telling somebody's story as it is. And hence I brought in the fiction mode to it, to make it more interesting, to give it a little bit of a drama,
right,
so that people are able to read it and enjoy it, and also know what is the true reality of these women around us.
Lovely. Did this change anything in your relationship with your daughter, or your relationship, or a perspective change within you as a woman who has seen so many seasons? Because when you write, it's like journaling also, right?
Yes,
and then
absolutely.
you keep evolving. And did that affect you personally as an author and as a mother and as a woman?
Yes. So definitely when I was writing Nisha, I felt that to get into the shoes of a teenager, to see how any particular incident is being perceived by a 19 or a 20-year-old versus a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old brings two, it's just like having two cameras facing in two different directions.
Right.
And while writing that, I felt that I had become more empathetic to what a teenager is going to look at life in a different manner. So I hope that I'm able to also bring it into my understanding of my own daughter. That often doesn't happen, although you're empathetic.
What was her response? Has she read the book?
So she has read snippets. She's also an avid reader. She has read snippets of it, but she's still relegating it that this is an oldies book because her mother has written it. So I think she will get around to reading it after a few years, probably.
You should, maybe after she listens to this podcast,
let's hope,
she'll start understanding the nuances of it, and how.
And she's a fan of Book Bar. So
Thank you so much.
Just me being in Book Bar can perhaps prompt her to read.
See, I do believe there are no coincidences. She had to come to Book Bar for you to come to Book Bar and for us to have this conversation, and then for her to finally read a book. So I think it's an interesting circle.
Yeah.
But let's, I want to focus a little bit on the topic, not just from your book per se, but generally about how generational transitions from this mother-daughter relationship have evolved. And how do you see that?
Yeah.
And what is the problem according to you?
So, like I said, I have given 3 different mothers. One comes from poverty. We have to also understand, I have shown her as a villain, Noor's mother, where the girl child is not wanted. And we see that happening. But I have also tried to showcase that woman, that mother, in light of the poverty that she is facing and the restrictions of a Muslim husband who wants a son, and yet 4 daughters are born.
Right.
So the anguish of that mother is also shown, although she is of course cast like a villain, because I wanted to also show where Noor is coming from. So that relationship is shown, how a mother-daughter relationship gets navigated started when you don't have anything, not even a shelter.
Right.
The second mother-daughter relationship is Megha and her mother, which is a middle-class household and which is set in the last century in the 70s and the 80s of India. There we find love was often not expressed. So words were not used. It came through cooking or it came through gestural touches.
The love language, as we
The
call
language.
it.
Somebody to express love was not there.
Right.
It came through, I made something good for you, made something sweet for your birthday. That's all. That was the love expression. So I've tried to show that how that silence sometimes also causes problems. But often when the daughter grows up, she understands those silences because she's able to read her mother much better when she herself becomes a mother. So that Megha and her mother's relationship is explored in that relationship. And then you have Megha and the adoptive daughter, which is Nisha, again navigating the same silences, but here now the years have changed. We have moved ahead where you see people have become more expressive, yet Megha relies on her upbringing of a silenced mother, and she is again not able to put her own emotions into words. So again, that third mother-daughter relationship, and then there is an allusion to Noor being the biological mother of Nisha.
Right.
I have not clarified it because obviously I'm pretty much giving away a lot of what the book is exploring, but it's good that there is an iron curtain between these two relationships because it's going to make it more complex if most of this information comes out, and it can be devastating for families if such kind of things comes out when our society is not yet ready to accept unwed mothers or children born out of wedlock. So that I have just alluded to, but there again I have shown that spark that sometimes you feel that connection with a mother figure, but you don't know whether she's really your mother or not. So I have also tried to explore that mother-daughter relationship.
I really was fascinated with the way you've spoken about Noor being the main character, but I think what stands out is, as you rightly said, the mother being the villain, yet not being the villain. You've not written too much about it, but it leaves someone to actually think more of the mother than Noor, because the mother, as you said, and this is true today as well, right? Because you are poor, you need a son, which is what everyone
still
has this mentality. And then yet you also want, because she is a woman and she would love to have a daughter as well, so there is so much of conflict there, and the husband and all of that. I think this is something which at some level has not moved on.
It has
and
not.
It is there everywhere, no matter how forward we are and very deep rooted, and which needs to be addressed, but you don't know how to address it because we don't live their realities, right? And we only can empathize something when you actually see someone who has to struggle for the next meal.
True.
Survival makes you go pretty crazy because what else do you do? And I think that's come out as a point of debate for all other audiences.
And often in Indian cities we see a different section of the society. We are sort of galloping ahead where urban population can very well identify with urban population in the US or Europe, and often we stay disconnected with the rural population of our own country, because that rural population is still lagging behind where Noor and Noor's mother come from, and they are the first migrants to the city, and hence the city is also sort of pulled apart. And, as a planner, this is the social angle that sometimes comes in front of us, that at one end somebody's literally the lifestyle is a similar lifestyle as we would experience, say, in any other developed country, but on the other side we have a very different social structure which is just 1 kilometer away from us.
True, absolutely. It's in our households as well.
Yes,
all our helps. You really start observing all of this, and you're very right. Then you start getting perspective on all of it. So this half story, will it become a full story? Is that your next book?
No, it's not the next book. The next manuscript is brewing.
Right.
It is about, I would say, 70% done if I don't sit on it for too long.
Well, you know who to go to now.
Yes. So the second one is a little interesting. It's again very close to the genre that I like to read. It is historical fiction, but it is set in India. So again, I'm excited about that book, but it is not as emotional as this first one was.
Right. I mean, what a start to your career as a writer. Such a beautiful topic, and a good publishing house as well. What was that journey like? Because we get a lot of questions from young authors. It's very difficult to reach out. We don't know what to do. This whole creative process, and as you mentioned, and we'll talk a little about it, is a lot of times everyone, when they start, it's always the fear of outcome. Right? Everyone has ideas and everyone has talent, but there's something which always comes as a roadblock, and in any profession, right, is the fear of being judged, and especially for a creative. Did you feel the same in your architectural career? Like your first proposal, for example, So it's the same across the spectrum, right?
Yes, absolutely. Except that in other slightly non-creative. Again, architecture, I would say, is also a creative field, but still it has an element of business to it. It has an element of profession to it. So you tend to look at it, in a more clinical way. But when it comes to art, you are more passionately involved. You're more emotionally attached to what you are doing, and hence the fear of getting judged and people not liking your work is higher than otherwise in a profession. Often artists don't look upon their trade as something that they can earn out of, and hence that business connect is not there, and hence it tends to become that you're much more focused on the liking part of it than the money part of it. So I think that's what holds artists back. So for that, I was following about 2-3 Instagram handles.
Right.
One is Inspired to Write. So where she put a post every day saying that you create art not for anyone else but for yourself. And I went with that perspective that I have created something that I wanted to do, and it's now out there. Whether people like it or not, I have done my work.
Absolutely. I think with art, even if you first you inspire yourself. That's like half the problem solved. And it doesn't matter if your story touches one person's life or millions, right? It changes something for that person, right? So maybe someone would get inspired, take this information, inspire someone else, and that's how the whole chain goes through. But publication houses, I think this is a topic which not everyone speaks about. Accessibility to them. What is that one thing which you could tell your fellow authors, young authors who are going to look at this podcast, something which they can take forward there?
I think you have to keep trying, because I almost sent my manuscripts for a year and I waited for a year. So have some patience. You will find the right fit. The second aspect also is that just like you have invested your time and effort into it, you may also have to make a little bit of an investment financially to get something started. Because you always see around, right, that you invest 1 rupee only, then there is a chance of getting at least half a rupee back. So often what artists feel is that whatever financial investment that I've done has been done through my time and effort. Now someone else should do the financial investment. I think we should keep that buffer, particularly for authors, writers, to have a little bit of that small kitty with them to allow you to do a little bit of reiteration work, get the book edited better, because this is what makes it commercially viable.
Right.
So finally, if you want it to go into the market like a good product, you have to put in some money to ensure that its readability is checked by somebody. The whole look and feel is crisp, short. I wouldn't say short, but it is crisp and to the point.
Right.
It has a product which appeals to somebody. So the cover page has to be designed. So if you're ready to put that little bit, I think then the product comes out
I think
much better.
Marketing and packaging.
Yes, it is important.
Equally important, if not more.
Yeah.
A lot of people
in today's world, at least.
There is no other choice because you have so many people doing it.
Exactly.
You get lost in the entire narrative. But I think you mentioned a very important, very cliched thing, which is patience. I think, especially for young authors, people want quick results. 2 months, 3 months, move forward, get a deal. You need to give it a little time, I feel. And you need to relentlessly knock a lot of doors. I think rejection should not be taken personally. Correct. Because you will be rejected. Correct. As an artist, somebody won't like what you've written or what you've
You have to just
expressed.
Take it in your mind that this is not something that they want to do right now.
Absolutely.
It's not because you are
faulting. Right?
So.
Right. So, what's next now, apart from the 70% completed manuscript?
Yes. So, I'm giving myself the next 3 months to, of course, after this is done, because this is almost like a child that has come into reality, and it
is
needs
it standing on its feet now?
Let's hope. The book fairs are starting, so I would be also the publishing company is also taking it into various book fairs now. So next few months, I will see a lot of this marketing happening around the book. Once I get a little brain space available from all of this, I hope to complete the next manuscript in another 2 to 3 months, and again
so
start
are you moving
process.
in that direction of being a writer now?
Yes. That is something that my business partner was asking me yesterday. That she was a little concerned, saying that I hope you're not planning to leave the profession and shift completely to writing. So no,
let it be out today for the world.
So no, so I still hope to continue my profession.
We need good planners. This city especially needs good planners.
And I'm too opinionated to leave that. I have very strong opinions about where Pune should go. So
I think we can quickly talk about this because it's something which interests me also, which is sustainable planning and urban planning. With what's happening around, what is your hot take on where are we going there?
So, I think right now for the next 20 years, Indian cities is all about infrastructure. Infrastructure needs to be built. I know now I have completely shifted to a very clinical mode of speaking, but without infrastructure, our cities cannot function for the number of people that they are supposed to come. We are still attracting people from the hinterlands, right? We will still see population increase in our cities. So the infrastructure is very low. But at the same time, we are destroying the environment. So there is loss of biodiversity, there is loss of farmlands, so how do we make that balance is very, very critical for India in the next 20 years. And as an urban environmental planner, I think I have a role cut out, but it's very difficult to navigate environmental activism, government policies, multinational or international pressures coming in for sustainability and the needs of our population. So between all four.
And yet keep the humanness alive.
Yes.
But that's your storytelling career.
Yes.
Interesting. So we will open it up for some questions. We've got very interesting people here, and I would love for anyone to have any questions.
I wanted to ask you about the Iron Curtain that you spoke right now.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting phase. drawing from personal experience, I've had certain friends
Okay.
who grew up, who are adopted and grew up in a very different kind of setting when being raised by the parents.
Okay.
Parents, and according to their experience, maybe now it's, they said that the magic of being adopted and being raised by parents who are from a different economic class lasts only for in your formative years, and then eventually when kids grow older, like 20 plus,
Right.
or 25 plus, and the parents are also growing older, then the issues kind of sort of become the same. So much so that you cannot differentiate yourself from where you came from and where you are being brought up. So
Yeah.
certain traits within you show up on the dinner table or show up in real life, and it's a very ugly kind of that person feels this, I don't know why I have this streak in me, and I have had multiple friends go through this problem.
Okay.
And what helped them actually was to supporting parents who actually encourage them to go and look for their roots. Or
Okay.
origins.
Okay.
And it's, although the parents also have to be that dynamic
Right.
and understanding, but
Right.
mostly they are not. And they often take it as an offense.
Yeah.
That, we raised you,
Yeah.
and you're pledging allegiance to someone else,
Yeah.
right? So what, because you said that this iron curtain is very important.
Yeah.
It's a very, and it comes up in the most random, spots. Like, I've had friends who literally, when they found out about who their parents were, they had mental complications. Parents had, picked up, right from, adopted from the
Right.
orphanage. And parents are like, very well-to-do people in the city who are, who want them to be at a certain level.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the most natural parts of you, like relationships, for
Yeah.
example, when you're growing up, that instinct of, some people say that, she's just crazy, or she has that possessive streak.
Yeah.
That just not necessarily have to do with just, behavioral patterns, but they want to find where this
Where
comes
they,
from.
I think that quest to find where you come from is everyone, all of us went into those 20s where you were looking for your own identity. And once you have this information that you're adopted, somehow it goes, the brain, I would say Nisha's brain would start thinking about where do I come from? Where do I belong? Do I belong to this mother or this family where I am placed? But somehow I feel that, in life there are so many things that happen out of our control. If a child is able to take that in that maturity, that yes, there was some incident that happened which is now in my past. And if I try to go finding and digging into my past, just like we keep telling everyone, right, that don't look behind, look into the future. I think giving them information about past again and reinforcing the fact that that one incident is what changed everything for you is futile. It would just lead to more and more complications. And when you talk about streaks, see in our full family of say 3 generations from what we know from before, you would have those streaks with n number of people in your family as well. So it is not about, a child is showing a completely different kind of a behavior. We can always trace it back to some grandfather, grandmother who has a similar kind of a streak. So I think it would be better to keep on grounding the child in the family that she is in and not wanting to go back and back, because there is just no point. We cannot change the past. So it's just best that the child accepts it as a given. Like, say for example, a differently abled child accepts the fact that I'm a differently abled child, or if there is an accident that has happened, you have to accept the fact that this accident has happened and move on. I think adoption needs to be taken, and that's why that iron curtain, I feel, in a way stops that inquiry from the past.
So just a follow-up question. From a fictional point of view, do you feel like having a parental character like this who actually encourages their child to kind of go in the past, safe, of course,
Right.
and kind of gets into real dialogue with the child, right? Because I'll not say the name, but I have a friend who came from an orphanage, basically. She was adopted, and her incidentally happened to be an architect also.
Okay.
And she went back to design the same kind of an orphanage for people like her. And this was a recurring theme, in her life.
Okay.
Because her mother was a single mother, again, who she was being raised by, right? And but because her mother was, slightly, she kind of kept that channel of, open and of dialogue open. And not everybody can do that. Not everybody has the maturity to do that. But I feel that would it make for an interesting parental character like this? And would the parent be ever able to forgive themselves for doing that?
Exactly. It's very difficult to know how a person will react. And only I think if the child is constantly seeking answers, should an adoptive parent give in to that. If a child is not seeking answers, it's best to let go.
Do you think their natural tendency is to seek answers?
No, not at all. No, they may struggle a little bit with identity, perhaps for a few years, but I think everybody settles by the age of 30.
Anyone else? Anything?
I mean, architecture is quite a busy field. So what does that? Do you have a writing schedule per se?
Yes, so I had to find that time in the morning. And before my office thoughts and things began, I made it a point, and I read it somewhere, that just as you would practice for, say, a marathon, or you'd practice for some sport event, you have to do something every day. Only then it happens that it will come. And it was true. So even if I was not into the zone, I sat in front of my laptop, and even if nothing came out of it, I spent 1 hour typing. Whatever came into it, it may or may not have gone into the book, but it was like my practice.
Right.
That I have to sit for 1 hour, and that I think helped a lot for anybody who is struggling to get that routine in place. That 1 hour helped me, but eventually the 1 hour is not enough. But because once it started flowing, I realized, 1 hour is not enough, because what I wrote yesterday, the review of that only takes 1 hour. So then it extended to 2 hours and 3 hours, and then I had to take some time off from the office to focus on this as well. Yeah.
Was that did research take a lot of time for this as well?
No, research happened on the side. Research was when I was, I was traveling, I did a little bit of research. If I felt like I had to go somewhere and see something, then I just did it as a part of my routine. But most of the writing happened peacefully without research.
You mentioned a project which you did which introduced you to a slum setting, so to speak. Do you think that was, I've mentioned that there are no coincidences, but do you think that was something which, now that you connect the dot backwards, that was a very significant part which moved something?
Again, I think the character of Noor was in my mind.
Before the slum?
Yes, before the
exposure
slum. Yes,
from a more project perspective?
Yes.
Oh.
So Noor's character was before the slum project, but what helped me was to actually write the slum. Write about what is that space, how people function.
Anyone with, please feel free, discuss.
I would say a comment more than a question. I've started reading the book, but after this conversation, obviously, I'm definitely intrigued to see all the emotions. Very, very good topic. I just feel like Anagha said, there are many people around us who can relate to this, and the book translated in Marathi, very important, would be very, very relatable to a wider audience.
Yes.
Yeah, translation.
So my sister-in-law, who is both conversant with both the languages, has begun a sort of an informal way of translating for now. But I don't know if it could convert into a book or not. But I feel, yes, the context of the whole characters is so Indian that an Indian language can definitely bring more, perhaps more relatability to
Absolutely.
that
Great.
book.
Good. Anything else we can? I'm assuming you're going to be here and have some more coffee.
Yes, yes.
So we can continue this conversation. But I think thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for having me.
It was indeed a pleasure for us to have this lovely conversation. You have done so many things in your life, and now you're an author. Very inspiring to everyone. So that concludes episode 7, and we hope to meet and have further conversations on your next book very
Yes.
soon.
Thank
Okay,
you so much for
Pleasure.
having me.